Hello, this is Tom from the Dreamcast Junkyard. In this video I will be looking at Dreamcast Magazine issue 2. I did do issue 1 last time. I'll put a link somewhere here if you're watching this on YouTube, so you can go and have a look at issue 1. But this is issue 2. Issue 2 comes with this Dreamcast Solutions book, small 68-page long Virtua Fighter 3 TB guide, strategy guide. It gives you the instructions. Also gives you character bios, things like that. Just how to do the moves, really. It's a nice little freebie that came stuck to the front of the magazine, like so. I've actually removed it for this, just so it doesn't get crumpled up. So, yeah, this is Dreamcast Magazine issue 2. As I said in the first video in this series, this is created by Paragon Publishing and came out. This issue actually came out as the Dreamcast launched. The first issue was released before the Dreamcast was available to buy. It was kind of like a preview issue of what was coming, and this was the main competition really for the official Dreamcast magazine. So this really can be considered the true issue 1, if you will, because it's the first one that had like a letters page and some buyer feedback or reader feedback. So let's jump in. The cover is quite interesting. It's got the same zombie that is on the front of the gun set for House of the Dead 2 with a weird like eye popping out. So let's jump straight in. We've got on the first page here, we've got another usual introduction from Nick Roberts, who was the editor of the magazine, and then the usual contents pages. This first newscast item is a looking at why the Dreamcast wasn't released $9,999 in the UK and Europe as it was meant to be. Basically what happened was, in the UK, Sega had a deal with British Telecom to supply the online side of things, and there was some issue with BT, meaning that they weren't ready to launch the system. This is quite a nice, interesting photograph here. This is apparently, according to the blurb here, is the first Dreamcast in the UK being unloaded at Southampton docks. Now, I live in Southampton, so that's quite interesting. Because it does look like Southampton with these cranes and things. On this page there's also a little bit of an info burst about the Dreamcast launch party in Europe, where they had Vern Troyer, the guy who played Mini-Me in Austin Powers. He was actually at the event, so that's cool. And then at the top, a little bit there about Midway releasing Ready to Rumble 2, which was obviously in the future at this point, and a little bit there about Castlevania for the Dreamcast. Next page, we've got a little bit about the different packaging for the Dreamcast in the US and Japan. A little bit about the differentiation between the demo discs. Sega of America had the title of the Generator discs, whereas in Europe they were the Dream On discs. Here's a little article about Naomi version of Star Wars Racer. That's interesting because the game that we got on the Dreamcast was the support of the PC game, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, but there was an arcade version called Star Wars Racer Arcade, which is, it's hard to say if it's a better game. It's certainly a different game and looks better, but, I really like Star Wars Racer as it is on the Dreamcast. So maybe in an ideal universe we'd have got both games, just the arcade subtitle to differentiate between the two. As shown in the first video, Dreamcast magazine liked to do this thing where they would show different PC games that may be coming to the Dreamcast, and in this case they got 2 out of 3 right, because we did get Quake 3 Arena, we did get Rainbow Six and the sequel, Rainbow Six Rogue Spear, and what we didn't get is StarCraft, which is odd because it came out on the N64, so you would have thought that there'd be demand for it to come out on the Dreamcast, but obviously not. Okay, this section here, the next couple of pages, is all about the different advertising campaigns for the Dreamcast around the world. Those people who read the Dreamcast Junkyard regularly or not will know that I'm quite a fan of the different advertising campaigns that they used. This page here is documenting the 2 main TV adverts that they used in Europe, which was the barbershop one with the guys shaving the Legionnaires' heads, and also the one called Boy or Buoy in the US, where you've got kids throwing stones at a boy buoy in the water. And also I like these images here of the American print adverts. So you've got the Dreamcast on the brain here and the eyes with the swirl, which they actually used at E3 that year. I think it was at E3 '99. They used this big advertising board with a guy with Dreamcast eyes. Yeah, so here's a little bit about the US advertising campaign, different TV adverts where the party's going on inside the Dreamcast. And then this bit here with another print advert with a swirl sort of off the west coast there. A little bit there about the different advertising campaigns, anxiety, claustrophobia, and REM. And then just a little bit here about the Japanese advertising campaign. This advert here, which is known as Jewel, actually came out in the US as well. But yeah, it's nice to look back at the different TV ads. You can find all these on YouTube. I mean, they're all uploaded, so just go and type like Dreamcast Apocalypse and you'll find it. So yeah, it's worth a watch if you've not seen them already. Nice Power Stone advert. This is quite odd. I've never heard of Kojak, but apparently Kojak is quite a famous French DJ, and back in the late 90s, it was quite cool for games magazines to try and like cross different like entertainment media. So they would have like music reviews and film reviews. There's nothing wrong with that, of course, but having like these big spreads of like information about DJ sets and things is a bit bizarre. I suppose they have got a point here because Sega actually sponsored this set or concert, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's heard of Kojak, then please let me know in the comments, because I certainly haven't. I've heard of Kojak, the TV detective who used to suck a lolly, Telly Savalas, but not the Kojak that they're mentioning here. Right, this is the main feature that's on the cover. It's called Return of the Undead, and it's about the different games coming for the Dreamcast which feature zombies or have an undead vibe is their main story. So my hand keeps going in front of the magazine. So obviously you've got Resident Evil Code Veronica, you've got House of the Dead 2, Shadow Man, Zombie Revenge. I have said this in the last video, but there's a lot of Shadow Man in these early magazines. It was quite quite a big game back then. There we go. Shadow Man is previewed on page 24, as it says here. So this is the next section, which is games that are in development, and then the review section. So we'll quickly run through these. Again, Shadow Man. Can never have enough Shadow Man, even though the game is not the best. It's it's a decent N64 port, to be honest, or maybe a PC port. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, there's what was the rating on that? The anticipation rating on that was 90%. So there was a lot of anticipation for Shadow Man back in the day. Worldwide Soccer 2000. I remember buying this game. Didn't know anything about it, and I was really disappointed to find out when I actually played it that it was just World League Soccer, but with improved visuals. I was expecting an update of Sega Worldwide Soccer 98 for the Sega Saturn, which was a brilliant game for its time, and a full proper sequel done by Sega rather than Silicon Dreams or Silicon Knights, whoever it was who did the Worldwide Soccer that we got. It would have been brilliant, but yeah. So this had that had quite a high anticipation rating as well. Moving on, we've got Alone in the Dark 4, which is the new Nightmare. Great game, great alternative to Resident Evil if you like your third-person action horror games. We don't really need to dwell on that for too long because it's a pretty bad port of a fairly average N64 game. Deep Fighter, another game I got sort of just as it came out, I believe, if I remember rightly. And was quite disappointed with it. I thought it was going to be like Starlancer or something but underwater, but it just turned out to be quite a boring, dull game. So that had a, not a very high anticipation rating, to be honest. Which is, another advert for Shadow Man. They were really killing it on the advertising acclaim. Furballs, which actually went on to be called Fur Fighters in the UK. I'm not entirely sure whether it was called Fur Fighters or Furballs in the US, but definitely in the UK it was called Fur Fighters. And to be honest, it is a pretty good game. It's a decent third-person action shooter. Not very keen on some of the character models because certainly the kangaroo or whatever it's meant to be, I don't like the way it hops. But that's just me. But apart from that, it's a fairly solid shooter, so if you can find that one cheap, it's definitely worth picking up. I know the PS2 version's got cel-shaded visuals, but the Dreamcast one doesn't. So MDK2, another solid PC port. I think the Dreamcast version is slightly updated from the PC one. It's got a lot of nice visual effects. It's ridiculously difficult though, but still a very good game. If you can find it cheap, it's definitely worth picking up. NBA 2000, which we know became NBA 2K, and then Evolution, the RPG, both highly anticipated. South Park Rally and South Park Chef Love Shack. I did do a feature on both of these two on the Dreamcast Junkyard some months ago. They're alright. I mean, South Park Rally is not the best. It has got quite a weird gameplay mechanic, if you want to call it that, where you don't actually just do a straight race. You kind of, it's like checkpoint to checkpoint or something. It's not very good. South Park Chef Love Shack is a good, fun party game if you've got more than one player, but if you play it on your own, you start seeing repeating questions and it does get quite monotonous. Advert there for the Dreamcast carry bag. F1 World Grand Prix, great game. Again, it is an update of an N64 series, but it's a completely new game from the ground up, as far as I can tell. It's brilliant. Gameplay, mail order advert. I did mention this in the last video, but yeah, I remember these where you have to cut out fill in your order details and send them off, and then a couple of weeks later you get your games. Okay, we're on to the review section now, and first review of the issue is Red Dog Superior Firepower, which is a tank-based shooter. The one thing that always sticks in my mind about Red Dog is, yeah, it looks great, and the physics of the tank are really good. It's got really bouncy light suspension, but you have to hold down both triggers to strafe, and it's really unwieldy. It's not a very well thought out mechanic at all. That probably didn't stop them giving it 85% though. Yeah, it's a decent game. It's very difficult though, and it's mainly down to the controls. Moving on, Speed Devils, and this one, Dreamcast Magazine gave these Ultra badges to games that got over 90%. So Speed Devils here is awarded the Ultra badge, and you know, I'm not one to argue with that. Again, as I said in the last video, Speed Devils was the very first game I owned for the Dreamcast, and I played it to death, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I love the way you could bet on yourself. I know Metropolis Street Racer took that idea and moved with it a bit further. Where you could, like, you know, bet your own kudos, or you had jokers and things, whereas in Speed Devils you could bet against yourself or against other people on how you would place in races. So that was an interesting addition to the already quite brilliant arcade mode and career. A game that needs no introduction really, Soul Calibur. And yeah, this has also got the Ultra, I would imagine, if it's on there somewhere. It looks like they've forgotten to put that one on there. But yeah, this got 94%, so you would expect it to have got the Ultra, but I don't know where that is. Moving on, Toy Commander, another game synonymous with the Dreamcast. Should have had a sequel. That got 86%. Trick Style, not my favourite game, but one that is, you know, of that time with those visuals and that soundtrack. I got 79%, still a decent score. Suzuki All-Star, another game that I quite like, even though the bikes have got weird shaped back wheels. That got 81%. That's Redline Racer in Japan, I think. Yeah. Pen, that got 86%. Buggy Heat, also known as TNN Hardcore Heat. That got, let's have a quick look, got 76%. Blue Stinger, the old favourite, 65%. Probably about right, to be honest. It's a fun game, but it's not the best. UEFA Striker, 82%. Again, I mentioned last week, I don't like the fact that the goalkeepers don't have any gloves because it looks like you're playing a game in the 70s. And then Incoming, which is quite a fun, again, PC port. Yeah, that got 80%. So, yeah, there you go. That's the reviews. There are a few more coming up as well. Okay, so because this is like the first issue where people could like write in because they'd read the first edition, this has got a mailbox section with letters from readers and also like high scores from readers as well. This bit here is they took the reviews from the first issue and then re-reviewed them after they'd had a couple of weeks to play them. Some of the reviews have actually gone down in score. I know Sonic Adventure got 92% in the first video, I think, but here they've marked it down to 80%. Likewise with Sega Rally, they've marked that down. In fact, they've marked them all down. So yeah, it's just a case of like, after you've played it for that many times, you've played that many times, can it be, much fun? Keep playing it. Okay, this is a new section that wasn't in the first one, which is the import scene, and so they review games that aren't available in the UK at the point. You've got to remember that at this point, the Dreamcast had been out in Japan for about a year at this point, so there was obviously a lot more games over there than there were here. So just quickly run through these. You've got Street Fighter 03, that got 85%. Giant Gram All Japan Pro Wrestling 2, 84%. King of Fighters Dream Match 99 got 57%, which I think is vastly underscored because I think it's a brilliant game. Token Retsuden 4, I got 49%. I've not played that one, so I can't comment. Pop Music 2, 73%. Climax Landers 52%. Cool Borders Burn, which is snow speeders or snow surfers in the UK, 44%. Again, I don't think that's very fair. And Espion Agents, I've got 73%. Another game that never got released in the UK, so I've not played that one yet, but it's on my radar to get. This bit is about going online with your Dreamcast, browsing the internet, that kind of thing. It's funny actually. They've got a couple of websites here that to go and visit. You've got DreamcastEurope.com, you've got Dreamcast.net, and SegaOtaku.com. I'm not entirely sure if these sites are still up and running. If they are, they're more than likely ghost sites now where they've not been updated for ages. But yeah, I saw this and I thought, I wonder if the Dreamcast Junkyard's on there. Obviously not, because I didn't start the site until 2005. So moving on, you've got an extension of the Dreamcast Solutions book I was on about earlier on. This is just different cheats for different games: Millennium Soldier, Ready to Rumble, Marvel vs. Capcom. And then a little section here about how to breed the perfect Chow, I believe they're pronounced as, not KO, it's a Chow, in Sonic Adventure. Just, advertising garbage. Next issue, subscribe, that kind of thing. Okay, this is the most interesting section of the magazine as far as I'm concerned. It's the forecast section where they look ahead to games that have been announced or in development, and more often than not, you'll find in Dreamcast magazine there will be games that never came out and very little is known about them, and this issue is no different. So we've got stuff like Jerry McGrath Supercross, that came out, it's crap. Dynamite Cop, Mac and X, Carrier. This one's interesting, Planet of the Apes. Now, I was looking forward to this when it was an N64 game, and then when I'd learned that it was coming to the Dreamcast, I was like, oh, that looks quite interesting. But as we know, the game never came out. Whether or not it was going to be based on the films or a completely spin-off thing, I don't know. I know for a fact that the Tim Burton film hadn't come out at this point, because I remember getting the video CD, naughty, pirate copy and watching it actually on my Dreamcast after I'd had it for a couple of months. So it's not based on that. So who knows, but yeah, Planet of the Apes, that was one that disappeared without a trace. Snow Surfers, which, is reviewed earlier in the magazine as Cool Borders Burn. So why they're showing it as in the forecast, I'm not entirely sure. Stupid Invaders came out. We've got NFL Quarterback Club 2000 here, but then just below it, there's a game called Title Defense, which is a boxing game by Climax. Now, if you do a search on Google for Climax Title Defense, spelled with an S, because it's meant to be an American spelling, I believe, you won't find a lot. You'll find a preview from IGN from 1999, and that's it. There's no screenshots, there's nothing. I mean, this is really small. It's just a very small pre-rendered image of two boxers in a ring, and that's it. There's very little else about it online, so that's interesting. Gundam Side Story, another one we didn't get in the UK, which I'm still looking for. Big Bang, I believe that went on to become Bang Gunship Elite. And then over here on the left we have Arcaterra, which was a point-and-click game with 2D rendered backdrops, but with polygonal characters laid over the top, and you had to like maneuver them around the screen using a point-and-click mouse pointer thing. That never came out. Outcast, we spoke about on one of the podcasts a few months ago. That's the Dream Pod, if you're not familiar. Yeah, that was a really ambitious PC game using a voxel engine, which they were talking about pointing to the Dreamcast. Never came. Roadsters, a load of rubbish. Worms Armageddon, decent, but it's not my kind of game. We've got Fighting Force 2 that eventually came out, and this one here is called Felony Pursuit. which I always thought was the same as World's Scariest Police Chases, but it's not. It's a totally different game. It's a racing game set in a kind of a pseudo open world. I don't particularly like the way the cars look. If you're watching this video on the Dreamcast Junkyard, below this video you'll find some scans of these pages, so you can have a closer look and read what it says. But yeah, Felony Pursuit is another one that was planned for the PC and the Dreamcast, but never actually came to fruition. And moving on, next issue, that was on sale on the 23rd of November 1999, and would feature, so this is for the next video, Shadow Man, Surprise, Soul Fighter, Snow Surfers, World Wide Soccer 2000, NBA Showtime, NFL Quarterback Club, and Vigilante 8, and of course, Sega Bass Fishing. And that is the end of the magazine. Another advert for a Neo Geo Pocket Color on the back cover, same as issue 1. But yeah, that's issue 2 of Dreamcast magazine from Paragon Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this quick run through. And yeah, the third video will be up soon, maybe. Thanks for watching.